I'm Gabe Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly daily all the time, anytime comic show where I give you your fix, everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we are taking a closer look at the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 794. Spidey hopes to tie up some loose ends, but could his worst challenge yet be hiding just around the corner? Well, let's hop on in together and find out. Alrighty then, so as the comic opens up, we had Under the Sea, where we're introduced to a military-style group that has taken over housing important and potentially dangerous items from S.H.I.E.L.D. This group never actually gets a name despite the fact that they have uniforms and logos. One of these items just so happens to be the Zodiac key, more on that in a minute. They also happen to be taking a delivery from two brand new agents, Coleman and Crane. Only these two turn out to be turncoats because they've been sent inside the facility to steal something. Who could they possibly be working for? Well, they're throwing around a bunch of pumpkin bombs, so I'll give you two guesses. It's for all these reasons the staff of the underwater facility doesn't realize that the Zodiac key reactivates and leaves the area. I mean, geez, what are the odds that these two completely unrelated events would happen on the same day, huh? For more insight on these events, we check on in with Spider-Man and Mockingbird. They're in London right now trying to deal with some old business. Remember all the way back in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4, number 11? And yes, it was Volume 4. This comic actually wrongly labels it as Volume 3 when it's not. Spider-Man had just started up Parker Industries and he was being challenged by Scorpio of the Zodiac gang. Well, he had managed to defeat Scorpio by locking him inside the Zodiac Vault, a place that would have allowed him to receive information on everything that was going to happen in the next year. Well, that year is just about to come to an end, so Spider-Man figures this is as good a time as any to let Scorpio out and defeat him once and for all. He didn't come alone either. He brought Anne-Marie and a bunch of the guys from Horizon University, hoping that he can use their ray technology to trap the Scorpio so he doesn't have to fight him. But hey, if things were that easy, we wouldn't have an issue, would we? Scorpio manages to escape and makes a beeline for Big Ben, hoping to use his Zodiac key to connect to a bunch of satellites up in the air, using the tower as an antenna. It's all very technobabble. Ultimately, Spider-Man is unable to pry the key away from Big Ben, but he realizes that the thing is pretty much hard-coded to Scorpio's DNA, so wherever he goes, it'll follow, which means if he knocks him out of the clock, you better believe it's gonna follow behind. And yeah, with that, the day is pretty much saved. Scorpio is defeated, Horizon University decides to take on Anne-Marie as a new teacher, and Spider-Man manages to defeat a foe that was literally 2 years in the making. That's 2 real-world years, by the way, not 2 funny Marvel sliding timescale years. But hey, what about the more interesting story of Coleman and Crane? What did they risk life and limb to steal? Well, it turns out it was actually the Carnage symbiote. Yeah, it seems after giving up on magical routes to return himself to becoming the Green Goblin, Norman decided to go, hey, time to put on an alien costume, works for everyone else when it comes to reinvention, am I right? And thus the Red Goblin is about to be born, and that's the end of the comic. So that's Amazing Spider-Man, everybody, and as I mentioned at the top of the video, there is a lot of tying up loose ends in this issue. Of course, I would argue that Scorpio and that whole Zodiac storyline wasn't really interesting enough when it was new to warrant a conclusion, but hey, hats off to Dan Slott for putting all the toys back in the box for the next writer. The much more interesting story is the story that leads and yet is somehow still the B story, involving the theft of the Carnage symbiote and the fact that Norman Osborn plans to use it to get back in the supervillain game. It's on one hand utterly simple and almost fan-fiction-y, and yet at the same time I totally want to see where they're going with it. You know, here just hoping it's better than the other symbiote-centric Spider-Man story we saw from Dan Slott recently. Overall, I'd feel comfortable giving this issue a 6 out of 10. It is ultimately inoffensive. So that's Amazing Spider-Man, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, be sure to take a closer look at some of these other ones I've been working on. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at CaveJoel, so you always know what I'm doing next. And as always, if you like my work and are feeling a supportive mood, please check out my Patreon link down in the description. Not only will you get to see videos and podcasts before anyone else, but you'll be helping me make the channel better, and isn't that always nice? So until next time, everyone, this has been CaveJoel. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you all again later. Bye-bye.